here's the before, and here's the after. Hi, this is Seamless, and today I'm going to do a video on Harmor resampling. I've been doing a lot on FM synthesis, and I decided that today I would switch it up a little bit and bring back the Harmor resampling stuff. So I'm going to go through the process and then explain it a little bit and show off a couple of cool things that you can do with the software. Airplanes seem to be a theme in Harmor resampling. Anywho, in the last video I demonstrated by using something that was very bare to begin with, but I'm going to do a little different this time. Still pretty simple, but tiny bit more complex, just so that we can actually do the whole process and not just show you the end result and be like, you can do that. Even though you know you can. It's kind of loud. Kind of loud. That's what it was. Is this still? It is. Stop that. Jesus. That's better. Ha. Okay. What am I doing? Making this thing. So this is a citrus channel, and I'm just outputting two saw waves and one that's pitched up a little bit to create that warble effect. You can do you don't have to do that with citrus. You can even do that with just like the 3x OSC, but citrus is just what I happen to have on hand. So I put this in channel 1. I'm gonna put on a limiter just to ensure that it doesn't clip ever, and then Edison. Now here's where people often get confused, is where they try to record it and don't really do it. I don't know why, or they want to have the loop ends. They don't really see why it's not doing the looping or creating the markers. So watch just carefully. I'm going to select on play, and then this determines the maximum amount of time that it can record. If you just go all the way down, it's infinity. You can record forever as long as you still have RAM. Now, what on play does is first I have to make a pattern. So it's something really basic and easy. There it is. All right. So now I have a pattern. If I hit on play, it'll hit record, and it'll only record when the thing actually starts playing. And then when it loops, because it will, when it hits the end of this pattern, it'll create the time markers, like so. Now, what we can do with this is, if you double click on the time marker, it selects what's after it, like that. And then if you click, you can move around the area, the end. You can drag the start and end points and to refine your selection. So what you can do is just select everything that's past it, delete it, and you have a cut that's exactly the length of the pattern that you just recorded. So this file is 100% that pattern. So cool. I'm gonna leave this here. I'm gonna add a Harmor. Now, Harmor, the whole reason we're doing this is because Harmor is an additive subtractive synthesizer, and part of being additive means you can do cool things like resynthesize audio additively. I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain how that works because I'll do a bad job. But if you just Google it or look up in the manual for Harmor, it explains better. So you should notice right there that it didn't quite sound like the original pattern. That's because the quality settings are not 100% maximum. A little bit better, just a tiny bit better. It's always going to be C5, by the way, no matter what like the audio is. For it to be what it sounds like originally, it's always going to be C5. So I'm gonna put down that at the length that it was. Now So why did we do this? Well, now we can take advantage of Harmor's internal cool additive things that it can do, only it's applying it now to the resynthesized audio. And that's just the coolest thing ever. And we can do cool things like bring in the unison. Use this prism effect. Add distortion. I like log. I do. The sharpness knob has a purpose, and I will demonstrate what that means in the next few steps, just because it will solve a common problem people have when they try to do the unison stuff over and over again. So resampling in general, the whole point of it is that you have an effects stack, and then you use the effects stack over and over again on a rendered out sample over and over again, and the stack creates a more sophisticated effect as you continue to do so. So that's basically what we're doing. So now that we have this first Harmor here, we're gonna put it back in the channel with the Edison, and then we're gonna record that and put it into the next Harmor, like so. Again, we have on play selected so that it only records when we hit play. It creates these song jump markers, and we can make the file the correct length. We'll drop it in the next Harmor. I'm gonna copy, paste, and I'm gonna disable this Harmor so that only this Harmor plays, even though there's two patterns going at the same time. This is just an organizational thing that I like to do. And the whole reason I'm doing more than one Harmor is so that when I do have a final result that I like, I have all the steps there, and then I can recreate that whenever I want. As opposed to what I did when I first discovered that you can do this, which was to just have a Harmor, render it out, put it in the Harmor, change all the effects, and do that like a whole bunch of times, which is it's a lot faster to do it that way, and less cluttery. But then if you want to do it again, you're kind of screwed. Like, it's very unlikely that you will get the same result unless like you like documented your effects setups. So this is the new Harmor with the same effects on, which usually kind of sounds weird, but sometimes not. But for this particular moment, yeah, it sounded kind of weird. All right, so now you hear that kind of watery kind of thing going on. It sort of sounds lo-fi-ish. Well, that's a result of what the unison does when it is affected on similar unison settings ahead of time, or before time rather. And this is where the sharpness knob comes in. So it does reduce that sort of watery effect, but it also does a lot to the sound itself. So if you want to use that as a solution to the watery effect, be careful because it can screw with things. It might sound cool, you might like it, but it also could just be bad. So there's that. So now you can kind of hear this sort of a formanty sound going on as a result of the tweaking we did in the first one. Well, now that there is, we can use the formant knob. One second. So now we can use the formant knob. So it's kind of cool. Someone actually pointed out to me on a forum where I posted this really cool thing you can do with formants. So instead of using this knob, I'm gonna right click it and go to Edit Articulator. It'll bring up this menu, and I'm gonna go over to Image Formant Mutation, and it brings you this little line here. Now, what this is representing is the formants along the spectrum of the frequency, and then you can tell these to go down here, and tell these to go up here, and tell these to go down here. And now that is the contour in which this knob operates. And so you can mess with that, quite a big deal. Same thing with the prism knob. Like this little indicator here, it's what it does is that it splits the harmonics. Like this is how Harmor works: is that when it resynthesizes, is that it takes the spectrum information here, and it plays the individual harmonics together, and that's why it sounds like the original audio. And what Prism does is that it moves the pitch of the harmonics in a particular way, and it separates them like according to this image you see here. And again, this is better explained in the manual. But Prism also has its own where is it? Its own harmonic prism. All right. Here it is. Harmonic prism. So this is again with the same thing. Like this is the spectrum of the harmonics, and then this is by which it separates the pitch. So again, you can just mess with that, and then that's the way that the prism will modify things. So if you screw with that, you can come up with some cool effects. Yeah. All right, so let's go to another step. Let's render this one out. Now, another thing that happens a lot when you're doing pitch-related effects like unison and chorus and stuff is that the phasing of the pitches will often result in the phasing and pitches will often result in Fraps killing itself in the face. Will often result in losing bass definition. So to avoid that, Harmor has a built-in limiter, built-in compressor, really, actually, and just turn up the burning and just all the way up. I cloned the Harmor, so that's why that's doing that. Also, this here is the result of the formant changes. But anyway, I'm going to turn that off. So that ensures that you have smooth and level bass the whole time, despite crazy pitch related stuff. And so then, I mean, if I were to call this to be a final version of the sound, I just record it, and then drag and drop into the playlist, and there it is, right there. Now, why was I just jumping around like that right there? What purpose did that serve? Well, in a lot of the songs that I used this technique of bass design for, I rarely ever actually use just the straight audio file like that. What I normally would do is I have the audio file, and then I would just chop it up and take the parts that sounded cool and arrange them in new ways and do all kinds of, I mean, not necessarily just with the same file. I mean, if you looked at it in the Vocodex bass testing track, which is the last one that I actually used this in, I just had bits and pieces of it thrown in there along with the FM synthesis stuff and other things. And that's just how I like to use it. Wow, that was dumb. But, so yeah. Let's put this back to normal. Yeah, all right. So, here's the before. And here's the after. So yeah, that's the Harmor resampling stuff. I think I covered most of the aspects that people have issues with. Edison, using Edison, make sure that it's in the channel that your effects are in, that your channels are in, and perhaps freaking out. So make sure that the channel you're using, be it a Citrus or a Harmor, is in the effects insert that has the Edison, and that's where the audio is going into. You can tell if that happens that you have the correct channel. Still freaking out. Still doing it. That's cool. That's great. It's the best ever. Yeah. You know what? I'm just not gonna record any more video. So okay. Anyway, the Harmor resampling stuff is the base method by which I designed almost all of the bases in Twisted Bass Tools alongside FM synthesis, and oftentimes I used FM synthesis along with the bass resampling through Harmor to create the end result. It was a lot of trial and error, a lot of random experimentation, and you're gonna have to do a lot of that, all of it, because like FM synthesis, it's very easy to get way off into terrible sounds in just like the number of steps you use to resample something. So there's that. So I think that's about it I'm gonna do for this video. If you have questions, I'll answer them. I'll try to anyway. So also thank you people for buying the impulse gain FLP and track. That's very kind of you, and I'm very happy that that's a thing that works. Also, thanks for buying Twisted Bass Tools. I know that some of you have, and that also means a lot. It helps. It's a big help. And of course, thanks for the general support and subscribers. I like subscribers and interaction, and I just like that this is something that people find useful because I enjoy being useful. Various people have suggested things that they wanted to see tutorials for, other than the bass stuff that I do. And I mean, I could do stuff like the drums or something, but I'm not really all that great at basically anything that's not bass. To be totally honest, like leads and things, I'm just bad at that. I am. But I mean, I'll learn, and if that's something that people want for me, even though, be honest, there are lots of good tutorials on YouTube about how to do things like normal leads and drum compression and stuff like that. And the FL Studio YouTube also has a lot of tutorial videos on how to do things like use Edison or use Harmor and stuff like that. So lots of good resources. But you know, there weren't really ever great bass design resources, at least based on things that people wanted to do. So that's where I find my usefulness. But I mean, I could do other tutorials too. That's something you want. So I guess if there's something that you want to know that's not something that I've done yet, let me know in comments or something, and then I will consider it for future endeavors. Also, sometime next month, I might try doing a stream or something, not on YouTube, not on Hangouts, not doing that because that's not gonna work. But something through like a live stream or Twitch TV or Ustream or something like that. I don't know what I want to do in these streams. Some people have suggested I just like make a track from the beginning, and then people might find useful things in there, and they can ask me questions. I can answer them and stuff like that. So that's kind of, I'm planning something like that. So if there's something you want to see in that, if you have any other ideas of things you want me to do in that regard, then let me know. I will consider that too. So yeah, that's it. Have a good day. Fraps. Bye.